I think a lot of airmen, particularly these younger generations coming in, I think they do struggle with, some fundamental and basic things related to purpose and meaning. The way that presents itself, could be different. If you could trace it back to kind of what is the root cause, what is the root problem in their life, it's, something pretty common to all of us.
That's Captain Bryce Ullman, a chaplain at Mountain Home Air Force Base located 53 miles south of Boise off State Highway 167. He's been stationed there for the last several years. More than 10 years ago, Ullman felt the call to ministry as an Anglican priest. It wasn't too long after his ordination that he realized there wasn't a huge demand for priests in the churches he was attending, and he began to question his call. Everything later came into focus for him while attending graduate school at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C.
And just by happen chance, ran into a chaplain who worked at the Pentagon there, and this was 2009 actually. And, I was discerning the call to ministry, and he took me aside and said, hey, if it interests you, we have a huge need for military chaplains. And so that was just a huge check in the box for me. From that point on, it seemed pretty clear to me that, that's where I need to be, is following the need in the military chaplaincy.
His call eventually led to his current assignment, working on average with 1,200 to 1,300 airmen on the base. Each of them comes from varying religious backgrounds, but most are Protestant or Catholic Christians. I spoke with him recently to understand the role a chaplain plays in providing spiritual guidance to these airmen and the greatest need he sees among those he serves.
We all strive to have some meaning in our life. We all want to, end our day and look back and think, we've accomplished something, or our efforts is tying into something bigger than ourselves. And I think that might be the best way for me to answer your question there.
Onward, Christian soldiers, marching as to war.
Welcome to Finding Faith, a podcast exploring the history, culture, and beliefs of different denominations in eastern Idaho. I'm Rhett Nelson, and today we're doing something just a little bit different. Rather than focusing on a specific religion, we'll explore what it's like to practice a faith on an Air Force base and how that faith helps in coping with the pressures of military life.
Christian soldiers marching as to war with the cross of Jesus going on before.
Mountain Home Air Force Base, home to roughly 4,500 active duty airmen, along with 6,000 family members, 7,000 retirees, and 650 civilian employees, according to militarybases.us. Protestant and Catholic chapel services are held on the base every Sunday. About 100 people, on average, attend services every week. Since I'm 4 hours away, I'm not able to see it. What is the atmosphere like? I mean, are the people who show up, I assume they're in uniform with their families?
No,
That's Nina Augustine, a non-denominational Christian living with her family on the base.
there's some people who come in dress slacks and button-up shirts. Some people come in jeans and a T-shirt. Some women wear dresses. Some women wear jeans. I mean, you get the whole gambit. There's no particular dress code.
The format of the church service is similar to any other service. Prayers, inspirational music, a sermon.
First Sunday of the month, we have communion. And then, as needed, we have baptismal services. So we have socials once a month where we kind of get together potluck style.
Military chaplains oversee the spiritual care of the airmen and their families. One of the primary ways Ullman accomplishes that is by visiting members of each squadron.
We visit them where they are doing what they do. That gives us kind of an eye into, how people are doing, how they're feeling. They may not need to talk to a chaplain right now, but if something does hit the fan down the road, They can think, oh yeah, that chaplain, he seems like a good guy. Maybe I should go talk to him.
Spiritual counseling is another element of Ullman's duties that helps build positive relationships with those in his stewardship.
One thing that we enjoy is 100% confidentiality. So essentially what that means is, if airmen are at a really dark place and if they're at harm to self or to someone else, we don't report to anyone. So we're a really non-threatening, safe place to go to in those circumstances if airmen need to talk to people.
One of the most common issues Ullman encounters on the base is marital issues. He says marriages are often strained by long deployments.
Repairing relationships can be difficult when someone's away for 6 or 7 months and then they return back home. Sometimes marriages have a hard time picking back up where they left off, and certainly it can be difficult for kids as well.
Ullman frequently hosts resiliency retreats to help airmen reunite with their families and get acclimated to family life again.
Bryce Ullman had invited our family because he knew that we had just, we're going through reintegration, and he thought it would be a good experience for us and our family, and we were like, heck yeah, that sounds great.
That's Carly Hobart. She recently attended a resiliency training after reuniting with her husband in July after a 7-month deployment. Her husband was in Djibouti, Africa, maintaining and managing an airfield there. She describes the resiliency retreat as a family camping trip. They met at the City of Rocks with other families going through the same thing. Ullman provided some brief training about communication, but most of it was activity-based to help couples reuniting get used to interacting again, or help couples preparing for deployment for a long separation.
It was really chill. It was a low-key, really family-friendly. Everybody was kind of in the same position. They all understood why we were there, but it wasn't pushed on you. Bryce was really great about presenting what he wanted to say, but not giving you too much. He really wanted us to go out and actually practice it instead of just sitting there listening to someone talk for hours on end. And they coupled in activities as well, like there was rock climbing and hiking and all sorts of other stuff. So it was really nice to go out and put to practice like some of the communication techniques.
Now, Carly's reunion with her husband was not too difficult, and she's grateful for that. Some couples have a much harder time adjusting. She says one reason it wasn't too difficult for them is because they've been through this before. Back in 2012, when they were first married, her husband was gone for 6 months on deployment. And though it was hard dealing with that as a newlywed couple, she says it would have been much harder if they had kids at the time. Having been through it once before made it a lot easier. Is he different at all? Did he change? That's what I asked Carly about her husband after his return home in July. Here's how she responded.
Yeah, they always come back a little harder than when they've left. It's tough going from having family roles and work roles and all of those things to going to just having work expectations and then coming back. So he was a little stiffer, a little quiet for a while. He was always very hands-on in our community, and I think it took him a while when he got back to really jump back into those things. So he was really good in our house, but it took him a while to kind of be ready to be in those big crowds of like big church gatherings and all the other stuff. So that the community level he needed time to kind of ease back into.
Though there are challenges that come with raising a family on an Air Force base, Hobart says she enjoys the adventure of it all, and her Catholic faith helps keep them grounded.
We believe that our family is the most important structure. So with our family unity, as long as we have each other, we're going to be okay.
Carly and her husband are among the thousands of military couples raising their families in a religious community on Mountain Home Air Force Base. Anthony and Nina Augustine have lived on the base for more than 6 months now. They have 2 teenage sons. Anthony is Chief Master Sergeant in a squadron, and Nina is a full-time mother. I asked Anthony how services on the base differ from a traditional church service.
It's normally a larger group of people from different backgrounds, from a church perspective, different denominations coming together.
Anthony says the diversity creates a merging of traditions. Baptism is one example.
Like in some places, they would baptize a baby like as for in a Catholic service, but in a Protestant service, you normally wouldn't see that. And so it's an opportunity for many different denominations to come together under one roof and kind of share an experience that's not typical of a usual church that you would attend. And so that is that the wing chaplain is a Southern Baptist minister, but he is actually over all of the Protestant denominations. So that's something that's kind of unique. And we all get together, we all get along well, and we're all able to have our spiritual needs met without issues.
More about spiritual needs in just a minute. Another key difference, according to Nina, is the lack of permanency. She explains.
In a traditional church, most people there are permanent. They've been there for 20 years. Their kids were baptized there. Their mom was married there. But when you're in a chapel, everybody's transient. No one's been there for more than, you might have a couple of retirees, but for the most part, no one's been there for more than 2 or 3 years.
Belonging to a congregation where people are constantly coming and going, and no one is permanent, is hard for the average churchgoer. But Nina says that lack of permanency is something everyone on base has learned to embrace, because that's just the reality of the situation.
We just connect a little easier because we all know the struggle. Being transient actually causes us to go a lot deeper faster. So where in a traditional church you might wait 6 months before you have coffee with someone, in a transient environment you meet someone, you have coffee, and all of a sudden you've met your new lifelong best friends and you're going to the Bahamas together for a vacation.
And when it comes to worshiping and developing spirituality, Anthony says there's already a bond among service members that doesn't exist among people outside the military. That bond creates a church environment that fosters unity and helps meet the spiritual needs of the members more effectively.
Right, there are other ministries that take place outside of the Sunday service. There's a men's ministry. Oftentimes get together and go on trips. There's vacation Bible school and other activities for the kids. And so there are many opportunities where other bonds can be formed and strengthened. My family is a big part of the worship. And so we do singing and my kids play music. And so that's another opportunity for us to kind of connect with people and utilize our gifts and talents to be a blessing to other people in the community.
And when he says we do singing, he means him. Wow. No one wants to hear me sing.
The Augustines have spent their entire married life moving from base to base in locations all over the world. Anthony says the format and atmosphere of the church service has stayed pretty consistent over the years. Nina is no longer on active duty, but she says awareness of and access to outreach programs for servicemen and women, like resiliency retreats, has improved.
I think we're just in an age of information, and so maybe before what people didn't know, didn't realize that those services were available. Now people are understanding more, and they're able to get those things out. Their focus on family and the focus on resilience and these kind of things I think are new, not just to the chapel, but to the Air Force as a whole.
In the introduction for today's show, I mentioned we're not focusing on any particular denomination. That's because the religious beliefs on Mountain Home Air Force Base are as diverse as the religious beliefs of people across the country. But most of them living there are Christian, and to remain consistent with what we've done in other episodes, I asked the Augustines and Carly Hobart about their religious beliefs. As non-denominational Christians, Anthony says their core beliefs are fundamental to most traditional Christians.
We believe that the Bible is inspired Word of God, and we believe that just the basic of the Christian faith, right? That God is the creator of the world and everything that we see, and that Jesus is God and yet was God and man, and that he was born of a virgin birth and was raised from the dead, and that our sins are forgiven because of his sacrifice, and that God desires to dwell with us and know us, and that he's personal, and that our greatest achievement is to love God with everything that we have, everything that we are, and everything that is within us, and not just to let it stop there, but then extend that love to people around us and make changes in this world based on that relationship. And that is really the essence of who we are and what we believe.
Hobart's beliefs are very similar. She attends the Catholic Mass on base every Sunday and serves as the music director. She says the church community among Protestants and Catholics is really strong on the base.
Yeah, we have a really great community here as far as faith goes. Probably the strongest I've had at any of the bases we've lived at, which is really great.
With life always in a constant state of flux on the base and the pressures that come with living as a military family, I asked Nina what practicing her faith on a day-to-day basis looks like.
I think sometimes it's complicated. I think living our faith day to day means simply waking up in the morning with the heart to do our best to serve our community, to serve our families, and I don't believe that moving around hinders that at all. It makes it harder to make connections, but the serving piece, being there for people, listening to people, being kind to people, I would hope that's not a transient lifestyle. I would hope that that's something that we all aspire to do. And so I don't particularly feel as if my faith portion is challenged in the moving around. My social, my goals and aspirations, those things all suffer from the moving, but I don't think my faith does, because we take that everywhere.
Nina feels living the military lifestyle has strengthened her faith and helped her press forward during difficult times.
My faith really got me through some hard times, especially during deployments. And even when my husband's deployed, not hearing from him for days, it just causes you to dig a little deeper. My faith has definitely grown and become stronger through military service and through continuing to support my husband as he served.
The Augustines are uncertain how long they will remain at Mountain Home. They're hoping they can be there for another year while their oldest son finishes high school and transitions into adulthood. But whatever happens, Nina says her faith is the one constant that keeps her family grounded.
Our faith is the same wherever we go. We practice the same faith whether we're in Idaho or in Morocco. And in our lifestyle of transient, continuity is a big thing. You have something stable to rely on, and so something in your life is always grounded.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible sword. His truth is marching on.
As a military chaplain overseeing 1,300 men, women, and children on the base, Ullman says it's very satisfying for him to help someone through a difficult time and watch them grow because of it. And he's happy to serve however he's needed.
The best word to describe what we are to airmen is available. We are available no matter what the problem might be, no matter what their background might be, whether it's a very different religion than mine or no religion at all. But nevertheless, we're still available for them, and we're going to try to help them do the best of our ability, get to a better version of themselves.
For EastIdahoNews.com, I'm Rhett Nelson, and this is Finding Faith.
He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never call retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet. Our God is marching on. Glory, glory,